Jill Wright here at Madlet Musings. And I'm super excited today because we have kind of like a 2-for-1 podcast today. We have Rosanna White with us to talk about 2 fall releases. Hey, Rosanna.
Hey, nice to be here.
I'm glad you're here. This is exciting. And yeah, you emailed me because we were going to do the podcast about your book 3, The Honorable Deception, which is releasing in November. And then you're like, we should also talk about my book that's releasing in September, which I didn't even know about. So I'm super excited.
Surprise!
And I do think it's funny the order that these 2 books are releasing.
Yeah.
Just because I would think, like from the calendar, you'd flip them. But yet I understand why the one is coming out in September. So why don't you tell us a little bit about them?
Okay, yeah. So Christmas books, for some reason, always release in September. It gives stores time to get them in stock, I guess, and you time to get them for the holidays. So that one is Christmas at Sugarplum Manor, and it is actually a Nutcracker retelling set in Edwardian England. So it's not directly related to any of my other books, standalone, super fun. It's just whimsical and delightful and Christmas. So much fun.
That's cool.
To do. Yeah. So I based it on, my daughter danced the Nutcracker Ballet every year. So we are very, very familiar with the Nutcracker. But I decided to base it on the original story written by E.T.A. Hoffman called Nutcracker and Mouse King, because you get more backstory. You know why there's this war going on between the Prince Nutcracker and this weird, why is there a mouse coming out on stage? I don't understand. Really so you get the why. So we went with that version. And it was so much fun. It's the first Christmas story I've written that is what we think of as Christmas. I wrote a story about the original St. Nicholas, but that's set in, the year 300. So it's not
it's a little
Christmas trees and garland. And this one is. It's like snow and set in one of England's postcard Christmas villages. So it was like that they would use for actual Christmas cards. So
really? Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So
that's super cool.
Yeah, so fun. And then in November, we finish up the Imposters series with book 3, An Honorable Deception. So this is Yates, who has had a point of view in both books 1 and books 2. So those who have read those already are just eagerly waiting for Yates, because he is hilarious.
They're ready for this one. This has been a long time coming.
I've been priming you for a year already.
This is Rosanna at home when she's writing these. She's not like type. She's like,
oh yeah, seriously. This one I was writing on a retreat with my best friend in Pensacola Beach, and I was literally sitting there going, she's like, what are you doing? Like, I figured out how to put all the series in here. We're meeting Barkley and Lucy's in here and Mr. V. So if you've read Shadows Over England and the Code Breakers, they're all coming back in. And I was just, I was literally cackling. Yeah. And she was then like, you're just hilarious.
It is kind of funny though, when you're like pulling the strings of all these characters and then all of a sudden they start crisscrossing. And I was just writing a book the other day, and the lady the main character is like a location biographer. So she goes to locations and she writes the biographies of the locations. And so I was like, oh, she wrote the biography of the Bonaventure Circus that was in such and such a town in my other book. And so all of a sudden I'm like, hey, cameos, Easter eggs.
I love those. I love them so much.
They're really fun. Okay, so let's go back to the Nutcracker, because I have to say my first experience with the Nutcracker was terrifying. And it goes back to that angry mouse. Like, it's kind of the same feeling I had when I watched Wizard of Oz and the flying monkeys suddenly came out of the sky. Yeah. I remember being really little and I was watching a New York City ballet on PBS, Public Broadcasting Station. And all of a sudden this mouse comes dancing across the screen, and he wasn't cute. He was scary. Yeah. I was like, So what do you think makes the Nutcracker so endearing that people love it for Christmas enough to rewrite it for a
I think it's the magical quality of it that, we have our main character, which in the ballet, her name is Clara. In the actual book, her name is Marie. So I named my character Lady Mariah. We went off of the original names. Yep. But she's the only one that sees beauty in the Nutcracker doll. And so there's that kind of captures you from the start, that, you love somebody who can see beauty in something that other people say is ugly. Right. And then she's kind of rewarded for seeing this by getting to see into his world, which is a world of magic. And, we would call it make-believe, but it's this world of kind of fairy tales and where toys come to life, and he whisks her off to this kingdom where everything is grand and magical, and what little girl doesn't dream about that? So it's true. It's fantastic.
That's
true. So my main character, she's set in the real world, and she and the Nutcracker character Cyril came up with this story when they were kids, and now it's 12 years later and he comes back. He is her stepfather's heir, and she therefore has grown up in this manor house that is not hers. She has no right to it. It's not her family, but she loves it. And it's Plumford Manor, but at Christmas she calls it Sugarplum Manor because they make sugar plums every year. So I had to put that in there. So it was just so much fun to say what happens when somebody who wants to believe in magic or miracles in the real world is hit up against the reality of, no, you have to make logical decisions. You have to be an adult. You have to, check all these marks. And everyone's just trying to make her be more reasonable. And she is saying, why can't I be who I am? And so
that's a great question.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
So
I think sometimes too, as we're, you kind of grow up through that childhood and you see things with imagination and that childhood magic. And then it's like you hit this precipice where somebody just pushes you over and says, now go be an adult and stop dreaming.
Exactly.
Like,
so instead she finds ways to bring the dream with her. And that's what I love about this story.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I like it. And now this is a standalone. It's not part of a novella collection or anything.
Correct. Nope. All by itself. It's short novel. It's not novella. It's longer than a novella. So yeah.
And it takes place in England. And what time period again?
It's 1902.
Okay. Oh, all the beautiful dresses.
Oh yeah. We've got beautiful dresses. We've got, Christmas at its height with the giant trees, and fantastic.
Yeah. I'm kind of getting in the Christmas mood now, and it's only June. It's June when we're recording this, and it's not quite Christmas yet. But
not quite, but
Cool. That's cool. So basically, anyone who loves or has people in their family who loves to read historical romance and who also loves Christmas, this is like the perfect Christmas gift to order and have for readers.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's good. I like it. Is there any mystery or adventure in this one too, or is it mostly just romance?
Yeah, there's a bit of, I don't know if it's so much mystery, but there's a little bit of adventure because we have our villainous character, our Mouse King character too, who, in order to bring him in kind of, somewhat realistically, he is a Danish lord who came to England seeking a bride for political purposes to kind of cement the relationship between Denmark and England.
Okay.
Because Denmark was very heavily allied with Germany, not allied, like they were neutral, but they had a lot of strong ties to Germany.
Right.
England and Germany were already at odds. So I said, he's a cousin of the king. And the king's like, hey, go get us an English bride.
Oh,
Bring one into the family. So this happened all the time in that era.
I
was like, so he comes and decides, well, this first woman I was considering turns out to be horrible. So on to number 2, Lady Briar. And this is his attitude. Like, you're innocuous. You'll do fine. It's just like, seriously? So... Jeez. Yeah, so
that's the epitome of romance. It's what every woman dreams of, some man from far off.
Icy and cold, and it's just So we have a little bit of antagonism between him and Cyril before they even get there, and then we throw innocent little Mariah into the mix.
Poor little thing.
Poor Mariah.
Aww. So basically, your villain is kind of like you mentioned. You said icy cold. So he's kind of like the winter. And then the hero's like the warm, crackling fire that you really want in a Christmas cozy. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
I actually just thought, I saw your cat rocking behind you, and for some reason I thought it was my cat, and I was getting ready to don't jump on me.
How'd you get over there?
I know, wait, what? Oh.
Yeah, my editors for this one were like, no heavy romance or, mystery themes, and any villains have to be kind of Scrooge-ish and be redeemed at the end. And I'm like, okay, we can do this. Yes. So happy, everyone's happy Christmas story.
And there's lots of sparkles and glitter and evergreen bows.
That's right.
I think that is kind of one of the things with Christmas stories, though. You want a little bit of Scrooge, but you don't want a lot of it of Scrooge.
Right. Yeah. You want to leave the book just going,
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's cool then. And then, okay, so last question on this one, and then we'll move on to honorable deception. With the Christmas at Sugarplum Manor, do you have like nods to different pieces of the actual music written in, or is this mostly just the story?
I was listening to the music as I wrote a lot of it, so like I don't know that you would hear the music in your head as I'm doing it, but like there are children who put on a play, and so they have Sugarplum fairies. So in my head, I hear the Dance of the Sugarplum Fairy as they're coming out. So if you're really familiar with it, yeah, you'll probably hear some of it. Yeah,
either that, or if you're not familiar with it, just start it playing in the background when you sit down.
It'll be lovely.
It'll be perfect. So it's not very often Christmas novels come with soundtracks. So
it's true.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go.
It was very nice of Tchaikovsky to write that for me.
He was such a thoughtful man.
Really,
look into the future, be like, Rosanna White's going to need this. So for no other reason, I am going to get this done.
Yep.
Oh, that was.
And we'll be putting out a playlist for it closer to time too.
Oh, for real? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, my assistant Rachel is also a ballet person and a Nutcracker fanatic. So when she heard I was writing this, she was like, "I have so many ideas." Like, run with it. You go.
If I still had it, I would send it to you just as a memento. But when I was in middle school or high school, by then I actually liked the Nutcracker Suite. And this will age me, but my mom got me for Christmas the Nutcracker Suite on cassette tape. And I played that thing constantly, and I don't know what happened to it. It's gone. But if I had it, I'd mail it to you and be like, here, if you have a cassette tape player somewhere, it's got great quality sound.
Yeah, it was so great. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so for those of you who have listened to our nonsense this far into the podcast, this is about Christmas at Sugarplum Manor, which comes out in September from Bethany House Publishing. Okay.
Yep.
And it's probably available for pre-order now, I would assume.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're recording this in June, so it'll for sure be on pre-order when this gets released.
It already is.
And then the next book we're going to talk about is book 3, which is Honorable Deception in the Imposters trilogy. And that one comes out in November. And apparently this is just full of your diabolical laughter, as you have a lot of cameos and Easter eggs in here.
Oh yeah. So much fun. So this is the last book in the Imposter series. So, we've all been waiting for Yates's story. And the kind of funny thing with this one is I knew Yates was going to be my hero in book 3, but I hadn't bothered, coming up with a plot or anything when I started the series. I mean, gosh, who knows?
Well, just that.
Not me.
It'll just be a story. It'll come.
Yeah, and so I had just this vague idea. I had learned about something called the Aya Home, which is a charity in London that was created to help all the Indian nannies who traveled to England with their charges and then were abandoned and had no way of getting home, because it's not fashionable to have an Indian nanny in London. But when you're in India, everyone has an Indian nanny.
I didn't know that.
It became such a huge problem in like the 1880s that various charities sprang up. But the first one was the Aya Home. And by the time my story takes place in 1909, this had been a very well-established charity. It helped women get back to India. It helped families traveling to India find the people. So it just had become a really standard thing. And I learned as I was reading up on it that most Indian nannies were middle-aged, but there were several cases of younger nannies who came over and never went home, and they just stayed in England and started like showing up randomly across the country, and no one was quite sure how did you what happened, because
how'd you get here?
Usually when you're abandoned in London, you're just kind of stuck,
right.
But so I was just fascinated by that, and I don't know, it just got the wheels turning, and I was like, okay, my mystery in this one has to have something to do with a missing Aya, and so cool. I knew that I wanted to do that. And then after I turned in book 1, there's a character who is the heroine of book 1's best friend from childhood. Her name is Lavinia. She had scarlet fever and almost died and all this stuff. And so my editors, in their editorial letter to me when I turned in book 1, were like, and we can't wait till book 3 when Lavinia is the heroine. And I'm like, wait, Lavinia's the heroine in book 3? I had no idea.
Your editors are just assuming, and you're like, oh, okay, then.
We can't wait to see how all these things unfold with her. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? So I already had this other character in mind, Lady Alethea, who's the one searching for her Indian nanny who has gone missing. And I'm like, okay, so we're also going to have Lavinia. And that's going to make a really fun, like, love triangle with Yates, who's, like, awesome. And everyone should be in love with Yates. But most of the time in fiction, it's the heroine who has, you know, a choice to make. And I'm like, no, we're going to have Yates have the choice to make.
I like that.
Yeah. And I threatened to write a fake ending in the back. So those who like to flip ahead, because I have some friends who are like, I can't handle love triangles. I always have to flip to the end. I'm like, I'm going to put a fake ending in there and you're not going to know. And then you're going to flip to that ending.
Hilarious.
And then the last line is going to be, ha ha, gotcha. Go back to page 240. Try again.
I love that. I love that. You didn't do that? That would be great. No.
I think my editors would have been like, what in the world are you doing, girl? No. Right there.
You might have started a new trend with novels that way. So
fake you out.
Ha ha. You know, you kill off all the heroes and heroines and everybody's like,
gotcha ending. And they all died.
Mass destruction. They didn't realize they were reading apocalyptic fiction when they picked up your book.
Nope. No warning at all.
Oh, that's fun. Okay. And so then how does the Aya come in with the story? As far as, is she a main character or is she just the one that's missing, or how does that work?
She's the one who's missing. So my other female lead, I have two, and you're not even supposed to know who's on the cover because they look very much the same.
Oh,
like, by description, you know.
Okay.
From the back, you could mistake them. So I'm like, you really don't know.
Devious.
I love them both. Who are we going to choose?
Oh no.
So Lady Alethea she's still in contact with her nanny. Her name is I'm going to get it wrong now because I off the cuff, you know, Samira. Samira is her name.
There you go.
And they have always been good friends. Samira's not that much older than her, only 8 years older.
Okay.
But in part, it's that Samira was the only one who protected her as a child. And we're not going to get into what all happened because that's the point of the novel. But so she got a note that Samira was in London and, you know, come to Hackney where the Aya home is, where I always stay, and we'll go have tea. But when she goes, she's not there. No one has seen her. They think she's left already, but she wouldn't leave without telling her. So she knows something's wrong. And that's why she comes to the Imposters to hire them to find Samira. But in her meeting with the Imposters, with Yates, someone burst into the church where they meet. And, you know, they're in an old confessional, so no one can see him. He's always, you know, very secretive. This is chapter 1, by the way. So it's already out in you know, book 2. It's in the end of book 2. So I'm not spoiling
you're telling us
here.
all kinds of great
I'm
stuff.
telling you chapter 1.
No, this is chapter 1. It's already in book 2.
It's in the back of book 2. Yeah. So anyway, she bursts out to see what's going on and someone shoots her. So obviously she has stumbled on information when she's, you know, asking all these questions. And so now the Imposters have to figure out what's going on that she stumbled upon. Why is she in danger? We have to get her to safety. All that fun stuff. So Samira is missing and clearly involved in something that is people don't want anyone to know about it. So
nefarious or whatever the word would be.
It's very nefarious. Yes.
This is exciting. I like this. Okay, so I have to ask, with the love triangle portion, did you go, because I know obviously you're not going to tell me who he ends up with, but did you go into it knowing, or did you go into it like as the writer battling your own conscience back and forth? I like them both. Which one's he going to pick?
By the time I started writing, I knew what it would be, but I didn't at first. Like when I was, you know, just submitting my paragraph for approval and all that. And it's like, you know, which one do I go with? Do I go this way or this way? Because they both fit in his world in very different ways, but in very wonderful ways, and they both need something he can offer them, and and they have they offer him different things, but so Lavinia deputizes herself as an imposter. She overhears a conversation and is like, hey, I didn't know this. Why did no one tell me? And then Yates, of course, being Yates, is like, and now we have to kill you. She's like, I think you have to hire me.
Yeah, I think she's right. I think that's
so. She just recruits herself.
Yeah, it's good. Sounds like I like her. She sounds pretty smart and savvy. I like that.
She is. Yep.
Oh, that's fun. I don't know if readers understand, but when you have a contract with your publisher, each book, usually before you write it, you have to submit either a synopsis or a paragraph or something. And I don't know if you're like me. I know some of my writer friends, they do a whole synopsis and they email it in. I'm like, the shorter, the better. So as minimal as they'll take from me, that's what I like to give them. So I end up sending them this quote, synopsis, unquote, that for the most part reads like back cover copy. And then they're like, oh, yeah, that's great. And then they start asking me all these questions about the plot. And I'm like, I don't know. I just wrote it to sound interesting.
I tend to do a 2-page synopsis, but there will literally be things in there. Like, and then something will happen. I don't know what it is yet, but I promise I'll figure it out. They're just used to this by now, right? Like,
right.
Like they'll say, don't, we want to make sure you keep this in mind. I'm like, yeah. I will have it. I don't have it now, but it will come as I write.
We're just going to give him 2 heroines. I don't know who he's going to end up with. We'll just roll the dice and see.
Plot things happen, know. Yeah. It'll be interesting, I promise.
We'll make it work. It work. Oh, I love that. Okay, so Honorable Deception is book 3. And this is wrapping up the trilogy, correct? We're not having like a book 4 that's going to turn it into a quadrilogy or whatever.
Nope.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. So really, as readers, we get 2 books from you this fall, which is unusual.
Yep.
And exciting.
And there will actually be another one in there too from Guideposts. It's a biblical fiction. So that one's direct to consumer. You have to order it straight from Guideposts. But yeah, it's a busy year. 6 releases this year.
Yeah, you picked a great year for that. Yeah. 6 releases in 2024. Wow.
Thankfully, the writing of all those happened last year. So the hard part's done. Now it's just edits.
And you have Rachel, who's super excited to help with all of the information that we need to get out to readers.
Yes.
That's awesome. All right. So we have Christmas at Sugarplum Manor, which comes out September from Bethany House. We have My pen was over the word, and I almost said horrible deception.
What a horrible deception.
A horrible deception. Now, we have The Honorable Deception, which comes out in November from Bethany House. So you all can go out and snag those on pre-orders and get them in your carts so that when they release, and if you do it from Baker Bookhouse.
Oh yeah, they have huge discounts. Like I sell them in my shop too, but I can't sell them as cheap as Baker Bookhouse can. And
right?
There is a pre-order incentive for Christmas at Sugarplum Manor with Baker Bookhouse. So if you order from them, you get a Nutcracker sticker and a signed book plate and a bookmark. And I will also be doing, but don't have up yet, a book box for it that'll have some Nutcracker item tie-ins. And
that would be great.
Bookmarks with tassels. I got them with tassels.
Oh my gosh.
The silly little things that excite me.
Well, I do. I love bookmarks with tassels because otherwise sometimes they slip into the book and then you're rifling to find your bookmark before you can find your place.
They don't feel as throwawayable, right?
No, they don't.
I mean, not that I throw bookmarks away and I still never have enough, even though I literally have boxes of hundreds of them.
Yeah.
Of my own.
Right.
But still, when I need one, there's not one to be found.
I know. Yeah, my daughter was laughing at me the other day because I was walking around with my book and I had a Kleenex hanging out of it. And she's like, Mom, do you know how many bookmarks you have downstairs in your closet from your own books? Just go get one. I'm like, I'm too lazy to go downstairs.
It's a real problem.
It is. Okay, so this book box, though, will that be up on your shop in time for people if they want to order it for a Christmas present?
Absolutely. It should be up sometime this summer. I will be making the selections. I have like all these items saved and I haven't narrowed it down. So I'll make all these selections. And if you've already pre-ordered from me, you'll be able to do an upgrade that'll just be the extra cost over what you've already paid.
Perfect.
Because, obviously it'll cost more than just the book to get all the goodies. There were like Nutcracker lollipops and soaps and candles and it's just so much cool stuff. Yeah.
I'm thinking of everybody on my list that loves the Nutcracker now going, okay, then their Christmas present
Christmas
is
done. Christmas done.
This is great. So for readers who aren't even sure, like, what are you talking about? What shop? Why don't you tell us about that? Just so they know where to go and where to find all your, because you got other stuff on there. I bought them there and I love.
I call my shop Bookish Things. So it's RosannaMWhite.com. You can either just type shop and it'll take you there, or bookish-things and it'll take you there. And that's where everything lives. So there's signed books from me. There are books with sprayed edges. I did your latest one, but my mother has it at the moment because it's our book club read tomorrow. So
I want to see it though. You'll have to send me a picture.
I'm picky about, things. So I'm like, oh man, this color is not a perfect match. And I'm not happy with how this turned out. And everyone's like, it looks fine. I'm like, yeah, you know how it goes. Perfection.
Well, if I sprayed the edges of my books, it would be like a black permanent marker, just go and there, it's done. So anything's better than that.
Yep. So I sell sprayed edges. I sell hand painted edges, and all bookish things. So there are merchandise that tie in with my books, sea glass jewelry for my beach book, that sort of thing. And there's also just things for book lovers. So lots of bookish. For instance, I did a subscription box for a while. We paused it for the summer as I'm undergoing treatments, but this was something in it that's books
that's so
on a
cool.
cup. I don't know if it's reversed on here, but a lot of classic books on there.
You do have great stuff. I've ordered some of your stuff for giveaways or for things for my influencer team, and you have a pair of socks on there that have owls. Or you did anyway.
Yeah,
and I ordered a pair of those for my writer friend who's all about owls. And she got them home and her 5-year-old daughter found them. And she's like, Mommy, you bought me fun socks. And she's like, no, honey, these are Mommy's fun socks.
They're too big for you.
They're too big. So I had to order her little girl some owl stuff because I felt so bad.
It's hilarious.
Oh, fun. All right. So yeah, everybody definitely stop by, visit Rosanna's shop because it's totally worth it. And it's also affordable, which is a bonus because sometimes I go to these shops and they're like $50 for a pair of socks. And you're like, oh, that was a nice thought. So
if it's too expensive, I mean, I have a couple more expensive things on there, but generally if it's expensive, I don't buy it because I know no one else is going to. So why? Yeah.
No. But it's a great place for people to go get stuff for bookish friends, for Christmas, birthdays, all year round. So
yeah,
it's good. All right. Well, everyone, check out everything Rosanna M. White has to offer. Get your books on pre-order, get your Christmas presents ordered. This is exciting. I'm so happy. And Rosanna, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always so much fun.